If I'm being honest, the moment I saw smoke lifting through the tree line, I thought the whole world had tilted under my feet. My grandfather's island, was supposed to be silent except for wind and water. Nobody should have been out there. Nobody had the right. But the smell of fresh-cut lumber doesn't lie. I killed the motor of my skiff and drifted toward shore, every inch of me tightening like a wound-up cable. My grandfather used to say, "Land doesn't leave you. People try to take it, but it won't forget who it belongs to." I didn't understand what he meant back then. I did now. 3 cabins, actual cabins, rose from the sand like they had sprouted overnight. Raw timber, new roof panels, a stack of firewood, and 5 strangers walking around as if they were inspecting their latest weekend getaway project. A woman in a red flannel shirt noticed me first. "Hey there, you looking for someone?" "No," I said as I stepped off the boat and onto the sand I grew up on. "But you sure are." A tall guy with mirrored sunglasses swaggered over. "Listen, man, we got this land legally. Paid a pretty penny, too. Dawson Realty handled everything." "Dawson Realty doesn't own this land," I said. "Never has. My grandfather bought this island in 1964. Title passed to me when he died." The man crossed his arms. "Got any proof?" I stared at the cabins. "Do you?" They looked at each other. The kind of look that means they weren't as sure as they were pretending to be. They had papers, sure, just not the right ones. And they probably didn't realize they got scammed by one of those shady land parcel schemes that sell property they don't actually own. Still, anger wasn't what washed over me. It was something colder, like a tide pulling back before a storm. The woman stepped closer. "Look, we didn't mean to step on anyone's toes. But we put money into this. We already started building. We were told this land was abandoned." My jaw clenched. It wasn't abandoned. It was ignored. But it was never up for sale. The bearded man shrugged. "Well, we're not tearing anything down until someone with real authority tells us to." And that was the moment the hook sank into my chest. Because legally, I already had that authority. But walking in angry, shouting, demanding, that never works. My grandfather didn't raise me to fight loud. He raised me to fight smart. So I swallowed every sharp word burning my tongue and simply said, "All right, if that's how you want to handle it." I turned around, got in my skiff, and headed back across the water, heart pounding. Jaw tight, mind already working. They thought I'd come back with threats. They had no idea I was coming back with quiet titles. My hands shook the whole drive back to town. Not from fear. No, fear was clean, sharp. This was something heavier. Betrayal mixed with disbelief, mixed with the voice of my grandfather whispering, "Don't ever let anyone take what you're trusted with." I pulled into the county road, Ecord's office, with a single mission. Get every document my grandfather ever signed involving that island. If those strangers thought they had a claim, I needed to make sure mine was airtight. The clerk, an older woman named Linda, who'd known my family for decades, raised an eyebrow the second she saw me. "You look like someone lit your house on fire," she said. "Close," I muttered. "Someone built a cabin on it." Her glasses slid down her nose. "Oh God, which property?" "The island." She actually froze. "Sit down." Within 10 minutes, she had pulled the deed records, tax receipts, and the original survey. Everything was still in my name, exactly as it should be. But that wasn't the problem. The problem was proving and recording that no one else could claim even a sliver of it. "Could someone have forged a sale?" I asked. Linda shook her head. "If they did, it wouldn't matter without a clean chain of title. You have uninterrupted ownership. But honey, if people already built structures out there, you need to file a quiet title action. Otherwise, this is going to be a circus." Quiet title, the legal equivalent of saying, "Let's settle this once and for all." She slid a pamphlet toward me. "You file this. The court notifies anyone who thinks they own that land. If they can prove it, they show up. If they can't, and trust me, scammers never can, then the judge rules in your favor, and your ownership becomes indisputable." I took the packet, though my chest was tight. "How long does it take?" "Couple months, maybe less." I exhaled slowly. "And what do I do about the people already out there?" "Nothing," she said. "Not yet. Don't confront them again. Don't threaten them. Don't even visit if you don't have to. Let the law handle it." It wasn't the answer I wanted. Every part of me wanted to storm back, tear down the cabins board by board, and shout until the whole forest heard me. But that wasn't strength, that was panic. And panic never wins. So I filed. The paperwork felt heavier than it looked, like I was signing something sacred. When the clerk stamped the last page, a weight rolled off my shoulders. But another one settled in. The waiting game had begun. A week later, I returned to the shoreline, not to fight, but to document. Photos, coordinates, timestamps, everything the court might need. The strangers were still there. But something had changed. They had built a dock. A man I hadn't seen before was unloading more supplies from a pontoon boat. He noticed me but didn't wave. Didn't speak. He just stared. A cold twist spiraled down my spine. They weren't leaving. And I realized something that stung far worse than anger. They thought they still had a right to be there. The court date came faster than I expected. Yet every day leading up to it felt like a slow drip of dread. I spent nights staring at the ceiling, replaying every memory I had of the island, my grandfather teaching me to tie knots, the way the loons called to dusk, the way the shoreline curved like a cupped hand offering peace. I wasn't just defending dirt and trees, I was defending the one place that had ever felt like home. When the hearing finally arrived, the strangers didn't even show. Not one. Their names had been listed in the public notices. They'd been given every chance to present whatever claim they thought they had. But scammers don't walk into courtrooms, they vanish in the daylight. The judge flipped through the paperwork, pausing occasionally to read the documents Linda had helped me find. "Well," he said at last, "your chain of title is crystal clear. No competing claims. No challenges. No objections." He looked over his glasses. "Congratulations. This quiet title judgment confirms you as the sole legal owner of the island and its shoreline, permanently." My chest tightened, but this time it wasn't fear. It was relief, heavy, warm, and overwhelming. My eyes burned, and I didn't bother hiding it. The judge smiled softly. "Go take your land back." And so I did. 2 days later, I returned to the island, not as an intruder, not as someone pleading for what was already his, but as the rightful owner backed by the full force of the law. When I approached the shore, the strangers were packing frantically. Boxes, coolers, tools. Everything was being shoved onto the pontoon boat in disorganized waves. The woman in the red flannel spotted me first, but this time she didn't smile. "You win?" she asked quietly. I nodded. She exhaled, shoulders dropping. "We didn't know." We really didn't. Dawson Realty just disappeared on us. I believed her. Maybe they weren't bad people, just desperate ones, who clung to a lie because it gave them hope. "I'm sorry you got scammed," I said, "but I couldn't let this place go. It meant too much." She looked around the shoreline as if seeing it new. "Yeah, I get it." The bearded man walked over, jaw tight. "We'll clean up everything. We won't leave a nail behind." "Thank you," I said, and I meant it. As their boat finally pushed away, the island fell silent again. The wind rustled the pines. The water lapped the shore. And for the first time in months, I felt my grandfather's presence, not in memory, but in the living, breathing land beneath my feet. This place wasn't just mine. It was ours. It always had been. I walked the shoreline slowly, touching cabin posts, footprints, sawdust, temporary scars that would fade. What mattered was the lesson etched deeper than any footprint. Protect what matters. Fight smart, not loud. And never wait for someone else to defend what you've been entrusted with. If this story hit something in you, if it reminded you of your own roots, your own responsibilities, or the places you'd fight for, don't keep it to yourself. Share this. Tell someone what matters to you, and never let anyone rewrite your story without your permission.